Well, Ecuadorian and US forces have launched joint operations to combat drug trafficking in the South American country. The US Southern Command says the action will combat the scourge of narco-terrorism, while Ecuador has described it as an offensive operation. Pedro Labayen Herrera is a researcher focused on Ecuador at the Centre for Economic and Policy Research, and he joins me now from Washington. Thank you very much for your time, Pedro.
Hi, thank you for having me.
What's your initial reaction to Ecuador getting involved with the United States in this way?
My reaction is extremely concerned because Ecuador has had an extremely severe insecurity problem. It's one of the countries with the most homicides in the world currently. And the current government, led by President Noboa, has tried to address this through a militarized security strategy similar somewhat to what we've seen in El Salvador. And that's led to incredible reports of human rights violations, including extrajudicial killings and enforced disappearances. So I'm worried that U.S. involvement in Ecuador's operations are going to make the United States complicit in these human rights violations.
Okay, the Ecuadorian President Noboa there is a close ally of the US president. We know that. And he said that the US was among, and I'll quote, regional allies taking part in a new phase. What might this new phase look like?
I'm concerned that the phase might include airstrikes, because for the most part, it's currently the operations carried out by the Ecuadorian government have mostly included raids on houses, raids on warehouses, on in ports and things like that. But in October, the government began airstrikes on so-called illegal mining settlements. So I'm afraid that airstrikes and more deadly force will be used as part of this so-called new phase.
There was a high-level meeting on Monday, which has been widely reported. Noboa held talks in Quito with the US Southern Command chief and others. What was discussed and what was decided here?
I think what was mainly discussed was the security situation, and the main outcome of the meeting was these joint operations. This is something that Ecuadorian President Daniel Noboa has been seeking essentially since he's been elected. He actually tried to put a U.S. military base in Ecuador, but was prohibited by the Constitution, and then a referendum in which people upheld the constitutional ban on foreign military bases. And I think it's extremely ironic that the United States is increasing cooperation with Ecuador, under the guise of combating so-called narco-terrorism, when there are reports of links involving the president's family in drug trafficking, especially to Europe.